Before I start this episode, we have to give a shout out to our sponsor, Open Fortune, for making this possible. Open Fortune flipped the fortune cookie on its head by putting ads on the back, reaching 99% of zip codes, 47,000 restaurants. In a world where people see 3,000 to 5,000 ads a day, Open Fortune burns your brand into their memory. Shout out Open Fortune for making this possible and bringing us today and having us talk to Marissa. Yeah. Joining us today is the stellar Marissa Solis. Starting off with a BS in Foreign Service from Georgetown University, she further enriched her academic portfolio with an MPA in Public Administration from the University of Texas at Austin. Hook 'em. Fresh into the corporate arena, Marissa began shaping brands as an assistant brand manager at P&G. Soon after, she ventured into the international division at Public Strategies as an associate. With a knack for public sector intricacies, she took on the role of manager at Deloitte. But that was just the beginning. Marissa then dove deep into the world of beverages, spending an impressive 16 years at PepsiCo, mastering various marketing terrains. Now, holding the reins as SVP of Global Brand and Consumer Marketing for the NFL, she's at the forefront of sports branding. So, Marissa, how the fuck did you get that job?
I'd want to know that too. No, trust me, never in a million years did I think I would have this job, but I do. So I feel very fortunate.
So let's bring it back all the way to your college decision process, and because that's one of the first decisions you make as an adult or young adult. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be an ambassador. I grew up in South Texas in the border area, and so kind of seeing the interactions in the border region. I always just wanted to be, go back to Latin America and be an ambassador for my community.
So was that the dream job?
That was the dream job.
When
ambassador.
Teachers were asking you as 8, 10 years old?
Yep. So
that's awesome.
Ambassador, and I ended up going to Georgetown to study foreign service. So I actually studied to be an ambassador.
What do you take in from that foreign service, like education and your childhood, into what you're doing today?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I never actually did it. Life happened and through twists and turns, here we are. But I actually feel like I'm very much an ambassador for the league, for my community, for many things that I do because I represent many voices. I have a huge platform, and you can have a big impact. So in a way, I'm kind of that. So it's kind of a fun place to be, kind of roundabout, if you will.
Absolutely. So talk to me about P&G, right? I probably interviewed like 15, 20 P&G alum, and they've talked a lot even today about just the training that they go through and more of like teaching. Like, what does that look like when you're on the inside of it?
Yeah, the best company in the world to train young marketers. I didn't study marketing, so I had no idea what marketing was. I actually went to San Juan. So I went to the Latin America division and worked out of San Juan, Puerto Rico, and did like the Caribbean and Central America. And it was like, we called it the little school because people went there and you just learned on the job. You learned everything there is about marketing a brand, having people actually want your products, framing the benefit, the distinction, really building iconic brands, right? So it was great. And I learned so much in the 3 years that I was there.
And when it's funny, I was actually in San Juan last week. Wonderful place. I love it. I will say, like, when you're taking that marketing, what is the distinction? You were in San Juan, right? Marketing towards Latin America versus North America. Like, how did your strategy differ?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's very different because you have very few resources. So you have to be super scrappy, super creative. I mean, I remember we had no data. So we actually didn't know what our market share was because we didn't have the data. And in the Dominican Republic, the way we found out was, we were the first to go in with like disposable diapers. Nobody ever had. So we went in, Kimberly-Clark came in right after. And the only way we knew is we would just look at custom data, right? So all right, how many diapers are coming in the country from Procter? How many from Kimberly-Clark? And that's kind of how we calculate it. So it was just things like that, like being super creative about the world of marketing because you didn't have the resources you had in the States.
Absolutely. And you talk about like you end up moving over, backing up. You just said that Procter Gamble is the best place for a young marketer to, train and just like get their grounding. Like what are a couple things that you learned there? And would you recommend Procter & Gamble to somebody who's in their early 20s to work at?
Yeah, I mean, you learn the first book they give you when you enter the company, they probably still do, is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. And that is, you learn the 7 habits of highly effective people. You know, thinking ahead, being proactive, setting a goal in mind, like all of those things, part of being a leader. The one thing I've kept forever and ever, and any proctoid would laugh if they hear this, is OGSM. It's like objectives, goals, strategies, and measures. And that was your framework for everything. Proctoids. That's what we're called, I guess. But they set up a framework for everything. So the way, even today, that I think about marketing goes back to that foundation that they set. It's incredible. So
I'm curious too, when they are sitting you down and they're like, read this. Like, I feel like a lot of books, companies like force culture. Like, do they actually sit down and like make you read it, or do they have like a book club, or how does that go? So let me say this. This was a long time ago, so things may have changed. But not only did they give you the book, we had Franklin Covey as like our, the Franklin planners. Yeah. So the way that we planned our day, the way we did meetings, the way we conducted everything was Stephen Covey method. Like, it was very methodical, highly, was he a P&G
disciplined.
Alum or no?
I don't think he was a P&G alum.
Just somebody.
But I mean, he was highly, his work, even today, I look at all his work, right? Speed of Trust. Like, I'm just a big Covey fan.
Sure.
Because he was ingrained in us by P&G. And, it was super disciplined, quite rigorous, very process oriented, but I loved it. And it was such a great foundation that now I can be creative and go outside the rules, but still have that foundation, that makes you a great marketer. So if you're a young marketer out there, I absolutely recommend it as a company to look for and want to work for.
Absolutely. And you end up taking a pivot to Deloitte.
Yes.
Why is that the right place for you?
So I went back. So after going to P&G, I went back to school to do my master's in public administration because I still had that kind of political itch and still wanted to do some government stuff. And I actually did some politics while I was in college in Austin. And then went to Deloitte to work on their public sector practice. So I was basically going into government, state offices. And when somebody was politically appointed, my job was kind of to create all of the internal communication, their external communication, and kind of like, make their policies, write them down, make their policies well known. So it was a really kind of cool job that combined communication and marketing with the policy side. So good combination, policy and process and all of that.
Absolutely. And what made you want to go back to brand side with PepsiCo?
I really missed the brand side. I think.
What was it about that you missed?
Once you have a taste of marketing, it's hard to leave it. I missed seeing your product on the shelf. Like, you work so hard to create something, and the minute you see it on the shelf and you see people enjoying it, there's just this thing about that. And when you're a consultant, it's great. You have a lot of suggestions and, people can either take them or leave them, right? And you never get to really truly see your work come to life because it's just somebody, takes it as a suggestion, if you will. So I really miss that. I miss having my work come to life on shelf. And when I had the opportunity to work, it was first Frito-Lay. So it was the chip side of PepsiCo. I mean, Lay's, Doritos, Cheetos, those are brands that everybody loves and recognizes. They have kind of that universality, iconicity that I love as a marketer. So I said, yes, I want to work for those.
And what are the pros and cons of working for a brand that is so established, like Cheetos, Lay's, etc., and now the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I think, particularly if you're like the leader and you're an established brand, first and foremost, it's hard to always stay at the top of your game, right? Because you're the leader. People are looking to you to trailblaze. And there's always someone behind you that's hungry, that wants to be that top position, right? So staying hungry when you're at the top is hard. I got the opportunity to do beverages at Pepsi and do Pepsi, and that's a totally different mentality because Pepsi, you're a challenger brand, right? So you're not the market leader, so you're constantly like hungry to be there, hungry to be different. You're unapologetic, and it gives you a little bit of freedom. So it's a very different thing being at the top or being the chaser, if you will.
Do you prefer to be the challenger brand or the leader?
I love that question. I like a little bit of both. I like the swagger of being the leader, but I like the hunger of being the challenger. So if you can combine both the swagger and the hunger, I think you get a perfect marketer. And those are things you constantly have to feed. So, it takes energy and time to stay on top of your game.
Yeah, I love that soundbite, just like of hunger while being on top, because it is true, right? It's hard. You do get stagnant. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Which is probably not the best mentality if you are the leader. You end up staying at PepsiCo for 16 years, right? What was probably your just number one lesson from being there?
The number one lesson?
Yeah.
There are many lessons, but I think the number one is the most important part of your organization is your front line. So as marketers, sometimes we forget that. Oh, it's all about the glitz and glamour, but it's the people in the front line that are either making the products, delivering the products. They're the true ambassadors of your company and your brand. And if you don't invest in those people, you'll never be successful, right? So it's a bit of humility, really recognizing who the most important people are. And I don't know that many companies do that today. PepsiCo does. So that's why they're a great company.
And talk to me a little bit about your leadership style. Like, how would you define it, and how would the people that worked underneath you talk about it?
It comes a lot from PepsiCo, actually. So it's servant leadership, right? It's about you are the leader to remove barriers for your people and your team. Like, my job is to make sure that they shine. So I will be a servant to them. And I learned that from the best of the best at PepsiCo. So my leadership style is very humble, but empowering. I like to empower and motivate my team. I like to provide big, bold visions that may seem impossible, but I like to push the team to get there, right? Because I think when you think you can't do something, but then you push hard and you kind of get over that giant mountain you climb, I mean, the moment you hit that pinnacle, it's like the best feeling in the world. And that's kind of what I want for my team every time.
I love that answer. And how does this position with the NFL come up, right? Like, who reaches out to you? Do you reach out, right? Because I think that's
so crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is why the title of your podcast is so awesome, because how the fuck I got this job is like insane. So I was actually at a soccer tournament with my daughter, and I get this call.
And how old is she?
She is 18 now.
Nice.
She was, I guess, 16 at the time.
You can give her a shout out if you want.
Yes, Marissa Solis.
Yeah.
Awesome. She's at SMU. So she was 16 at the time. We were at a tournament. I get this phone call from a recruiter. And, we all get these kinds of calls. And it's like, hey, I have a position for you, leading marketing. And my answer was simply, you know what? Thank you, but no thanks. Like, I lead the best brands in the world. I have a great career. I love this company. I'm not really going anywhere. And the guy said, listen, you need to hear this one out. And I told him there's only 5 brands that I would actually entertain, right? I mean, it's like Nike, BMW, kind of big, iconic brands. He says, is the NFL one of them? And I stopped in my tracks. I'm like, the National Football League, like the NFL? He's like, yes. I'm like, I'm listening. I just never in a million years thought the NFL would like
the draft day,
get recruiters to like,
the draft day phone call.
Yeah. And I mean, it was really insane. And going through the process was awesome. So my boss, another shout out, Tim Ellis, an incredible person. He actually was at Volkswagen, I think in 2000, 10, something like that. He created that Darth Vader ad. I don't know if you've ever seen it with the little kid. That's one of my favorite spots of all time. So when I found out that Tim Ellis was, going to be my boss and recruiting me, I was like, oh my God, this is like marketer's dream job, right? So it was great. Like I went through the process. I knew about the league and had worked with the league because Pepsi is a major sponsor. And so we did a lot of things already. So I kind of knew the league. So it was just, I don't know, it just became.
What do you think about your career trajectory and learnings, like had them very attracted to like you to take over this role?
So Tim, at the time and still today, had a vision about the league. In order for the league to be relevant in the future, like we really need to speak to our fans and build the fan base of the future, right? And that means diversifying the league. It means making the league more approachable, more human, telling great stories. Because at the time, everybody knew the league as this incredible, product of the game, right? It's an incredible and exciting game, but the league is so much more than that. And I think he gave me kind of that vision of what the league could be, the fan base we could create.
And what was that vision?
Again, an approachable, a diverse,
Sure.
like he calls it, he termed the strategy helmets off. So imagine if we took the helmets off of our players and people see the players as humans, right?
Yeah.
They're fathers, they're coaches, they're funny, they like different kinds of music, they like fashion, what if we opened up this whole humanity to
their walkout songs are Fall Out Boy
to our fans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What were they, you said you need to stay hungry as a leader in the clubhouse. What were the NFL's pain points when bringing you in, and what were the problems that you were looking at solving? Because from the outside looking in, it's like the NFL owns all.
Well, from the outside looking in, I came into a league that had the highest ratings, right? And was and is on top of the world. But if you looked at the pain points, number one, showing on linear TV. Linear TV is changing, right? I mean, young people today aren't watching linear TV. Young people today aren't spending 4 hours watching a game, right? If you think about the demographics of our country, right? Women, the rise of the Latino community, the Asian community, LGBTQ, like who is speaking to these communities? There are so many underserved communities that nobody's speaking to as brands. And that was a passion of mine. I mean, I did a lot of work with those communities at Pepsi. And I think the NFL saw that as a way, that I could bring kind of that link to those communities. So some of the proudest work to date has been uplifting those communities.
What kind of work, like
through the
when
league?
You say an example?
I mean, the biggest, I think most visible work was what we did for Super Bowl, right? For the first time ever in our biggest stage, we put a woman, a Latina, a flag football player front and center in our story. Not the traditional kind of football player you've seen in the past. And I think people saw the power of what women trailblazers in the league could do. That spot has now turned into, just yesterday there was an announcement, flag football is now an Olympic sport.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is insane. And that's going to bring opportunity.
Were you guys a big part of that? Or
so the league, I mean, it's 2 years in the making, right?
Yeah.
It's the International Federation of Football. It's U.S. football. Bless you.
Nice.
It's the National Football League all partnering together with LA 28 committee to pitch to the IOC that this is a sport that needs to be, part of the program. So it was an incredible accomplishment yesterday, seeing that, right? So that's great. And I think again, I'll talk about the Latino community specifically because it's something very near and dear to my heart. But, we've been doing for a couple of years now something called Por la Cultura, which is for the culture. It's a campaign to uplift the way Latinos watch and engage and celebrate the game. And now we're putting the spotlight on players. So people don't think there's Latino players in the league. There's actually 51 active players of Latino descent in the league. And everything from Fred Warner of the 49ers, who's like incredible, all the way to new rookies like Christian Gonzalez from Colombia, who was just drafted, in the last draft. I don't know if you saw the draft, but he opened his jacket and you saw the Colombian flag. So, and everything in between, right? And there's so many great stories about their background and how they got there. And there's a saying, in the community that says you cannot be it if you cannot see it. And now young Latino kids everywhere are seeing it, right? In the league, they're seeing the success. And it's just inspiring a whole generation of kids to participate, to play, to maybe one day be part of the NFL. So that's very, very cool, I think.
Absolutely. That really is. And I have to ask, it's a question that everybody's been wondering, right? Take me inside the helmet when you find out that, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are, commingling, and what effect this has on the NFL and what you guys, did to amplify that.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I think it speaks to the power of culture and also what a pinnacle of entertainment the league is. We had no idea, right? No one at the league had any idea. We had heard rumors about like Travis going to the concert and then asking her to come to a game. Everyone had kind of heard that. And then no one knew she was going to show up at that game. Like it was within 24 hours. And then all of a sudden she's there. And I mean, you lived it too, right? It's like it goes viral, right?
Yeah.
And that is when, kudos to our social and influencer team. They were on it. Immediately when you see that kind of response, you go with it, right? And I don't know if you've seen all the memes, but there were memes about, football 101, educating Swifties about how to play the game. There's 4 downs. And there were also a lot of content educating other core fans about Taylor Swift.
Sure.
Because believe it or not, there are actually fans, lots of fans in the NFL who didn't know who Taylor Swift was,
goes both
right?
ways.
It goes both ways. So I think we had a lot of fun educating and just amplifying what was happening.
Sure.
It's incredible to see like the power of culture and just the views, the engagement. The Sunday Night Football game, when she came to New York, that was the highest viewed Sunday Night Football game, I think, in history.
And it was the Jets, no offense.
Yeah, it was the Jets. Almost 27 million fans.
Yeah.
That's linear TV right there. And this is the Swiftie generation that tends not to watch linear, right?
Yeah.
So it's insane.
It really
I think
is.
it's a lot of fun to see. And again, as a marketer, you want to say you create culture, you control culture. And the fact is we don't, right?
Yeah.
All we can do is try to stay as far, with it as we can. We can't stay ahead of it, but try to be there when things happen and just amplify the moment and just watch it happen.
In other words, you sounded like a football coach being like, we just put our guys in the right place and they won today.
In a way we kind of did.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's just insane. That same Sunday, we announced our halftime show.
Yeah.
And, on Monday, the news was Taylor, right? Everybody likes Usher, and we're excited about Usher too.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, right? You cannot control. You just can't control it.
Absolutely. No, I think you summed that up super well, and I'm glad we got to touch on it a little bit. Today, I had the great opportunity to speak with 7 women in, C-suite positions, right? If there's somebody who's listening to this, or if you were to give yourself advice, at the age of 21, what advice would you give yourself looking back on it?
Yeah, my 21-year-old advice, the first thing I would say is it's going to be okay. It really is. Like, things do work out. When you're 21, you're so ambitious and you want to change the world, and there's so many things and it seems so daunting. So I would just say it's going to be okay. The second thing I would say is take risks. Like, do the things that nobody else has done. Take the road less traveled. Like, do the things that give you the butterflies in the belly, because those are the only things that actually like make things worthwhile. Like, don't just do what everybody else is doing. Like, go to the beat of your own drum, and you'll find your place.
Absolutely. And we spoke a lot about your career. Like, tell me something in your personal life that you're super proud of.
Oh, wow. So, well, let's see. I am a 3rd-degree black belt.
No way.
Yes.
So you're saying you could kick all of our asses.
I can try.
Yeah.
I started very, very late in life.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Did it because of my daughter.
So it was your daughter's passion?
She wanted to try it. And then the sensei said, hey, we have an adult class. Why don't you try it too? And I went into it. My daughter and husband gave me like 3 weeks.
How long ago is this?
This was about 10 years ago. And 10 years later, here I am with a 3rd-degree black belt. And, it's a passion I have. I love it.
What about karate really stood out to you?
I think, again, it's like the discipline, there's a method to the madness. It's very character building, the meditation part.
Sure.
And then you're a badass. Like,
yeah, I mean,
like you want to be a badass
without saying you're a badass.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like,
that is awesome. Sweet. Well, you're the only black belt that we had on the show today, so I'll give you kudos for that. But sweet, thank you so much for coming on. We're just gonna wrap up with a quick question round, and we'll get you out of here.
Sounds good.
So we'll crack open one of these bad boys.
Okay.
And we're gonna see, if it relates to something we spoke about on the show.
Cool.
Curious, do you have a fortune cookie moment that brings you back?
A fortune? Well, it's funny. My daughter, who I love and have a special relationship with, we have a place back in Dallas where we go to have Chinese food. We used to go every Sunday, and so that's our place. So we still go. Hold on. Oh, I was looking at the
brand side.
Fly for less money and less stress. I'm like, I fly a lot, so maybe that's my fortune. But no, that's not the fortune. Oh, this is a good fortune. A well-deserved vacation is in your future.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Where are you going?
Absolutely. Oh man, I think that I would go to San Sebastian. Have you been there? In Spain.
Okay.
It's in the north of Spain. It's the most amazing place in the world. Highest Michelin star restaurant per cap.
Wow.
In the world. The best food and the best wine.
Have you been?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'd go again. That's why
that's
where I'd go.
All right. We got to do this down.
Good cookies.
Yeah, good. You're fresh.
Yeah.
May your holidays be as soft and comforting as your coziest sweater. That's a good fall one. I'm excited for it to get cold. Airy.
That is a good one.
Yeah. Seasonal. Sweet. So let's go into it. Person you'd most want to sit down to dinner with, dead or alive?
Oh my God, Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
I love him and loved him, and yeah.
Yeah, my second cousin was his videographer, actually.
Seriously?
Yeah, for like 20 years or whatever, 15 years. Yeah.
I love him so much. Like, he's a big part of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, one of my good friends has whenever we Zoom him, he works with us sometimes. Like, he has this huge Bourdain poster. But you've read Kitchen Confidential too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just finished it. It was really good.
Saw the documentary, everything. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's special, and he was special. Favorite city in the world?
Ooh, Tokyo, Japan.
Is it okay to sleep with socks on?
Yeah, why not?
Favorite rom-com?
Oh God, this is a hard one. Favorite rom-com. Oh my God, I'm blanking.
Do you want an ABC choice? D choice? All right.
Sure.
You've Got Mail, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Sleepless in Seattle.
No, this is Ryan Gosling and
A Crazy Stupid Love.
Yes, Crazy Stupid Love.
I just watched that for the first time like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
And Steve Carell, it's great.
Steve Carell, yes.
Best spot to eat in New York or Dallas?
Best spot to eat in New York or Dallas? So, in Dallas, there's a really great steakhouse called D. Lincoln. It's at the Star. So if you know what the Star is, that's the facility where the Cowboys practice, but it's filled with like restaurants and bars and stuff.
Very cool.
And so D. Lincoln is a Cowboyish person, and it's a very cool steak place.
I'll have to be there. I haven't been to
great
Dallas
steak
yet,
and wine. New York, I'm still searching. So if you have like really good places, please let me know, because I'm in the search. Yes.
In 40 years from now, what will people be nostalgic for?
Ooh, wow, that's a good one. 40 years from now, probably linear TV. I shouldn't say that, but probably linear TV.
One thing people don't understand about working for the NFL is?
When an incredibly like fast-paced place it is, and the fact that the off season is busier than the on season.
That's a good one.
It is very, very busy in the off season.
In one sentence, how would you sum up the internet?
Fast.
It is fast. What's the worst advice you've ever been given?
The worst advice I've ever been given was to go to sleep early.
Who's somebody you think should hop on this podcast?
Well, you should talk to Tim. He's great. Tim Ellis.
Love to.
Yeah, Tim Ellis is a great one. Have you talked to Pepsi folks yet?
Ex-Pepsi folks, but not.
There's some great.
Todd Kaplan's on the list.
Okay, but... there's some great Pepsi folks that you should talk to. Todd's a good one. Pat O'Toole at Burger King. He was ex-Pepsi.
Oh, that'd be great.
Good guy.
In 2033, where can we catch you?
In 2033, 10 years from now, man, hopefully I'm going to be traveling the world.
In San Sebastian.
Well, definitely San Sebastian, but all over the world, eating and drinking.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for hopping on. That was amazing.
Thank you.